Test, 1, 2. Test, test. Test, 1, 2. Test, test, test.
Good evening and welcome to Balfour Natatorium on the campus of Wheaton College for today's meeting featuring Roger Williams University and your Wheaton College Lions. The Lions are coached by Matt Henry and is assisted by Joanna Chobanova, Jared Cicchelli, and David Roach. The Wheaton College Lions are coached by Barrett Roberts and is assisted by Garrett Schultz and diving coach Danielle Wood. Good sportsmanship by student athletes, coaches, and spectators. We request your cooperation by supporting participants and officials in a positive manner. Profanity, derogatory comments, homophobic remarks, or other intimidating actions directed at officials, student athletes, coaches, or team representatives will not be tolerated and are grounds for removal from the site of competition. Also, consumption or possession of alcoholic beverages is prohibited. And now, the playing of the national anthem.
home opener for Wheaton men's and women's swim and dive. Alongside Alan Wickstrom, I'm Jackson Walsh. And thanks for joining us. We're live from the Balfour Natatorium tonight on the Newmax Sports Network. Wick, great year of men's and women's swim and dive ahead for Wheaton. What's on the table for tonight?
So for tonight, traditionally, Roger Williams has been very strong on the men's side, and our women have always performed very well against Roger Williams. Last year, the women beat Roger Williams pretty handily, but on the other side, Roger Williams defeated the Wheaton men pretty handily. This year, the men have a lot of improved newcomers coming in. Last week, Gavin Cullinan had a great meet at Bentley with 2 wins. There's a number of good freshmen for the Lions this year. On the women's side, same thing, but a lot of strong returners for the Lions on the women's side.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's a different men's team this year with all those first-year students coming in. 32 events tonight. Event 1, we're going to kick it off with the women's 400 medley relay. It'll be Wheaton in lane 1, Wheaton lane 3, Roger Williams lane 4, Wheaton lane 5, Roger Williams 6, Wheaton 7, and Wheaton 8. Always look for lanes 4 and 5. That's usually where the teams stash their strongest swimmers. For Roger Williams in lane 4, Kate Weiler, Bella Kuzbeck, Noelle Schneider, Tabitha Didonato, and in lane 5 for Wheaton, it's Reese Hartman, Meg Dickinson, Katie Walls, and Elle Finette. Well, we're underway. First home meet of the season for men's, women's swim and dive, kicking it off with the women's 400-yard medley relay. It's going to be Wheaton out in front to start. Lane 5, Reese Hartman, that's her strong suit. She'll kick it off with a backstroke. Second place for the Lions, lane 3. That's Garen Stone. Through the first 50, it's still Hartman in lane 5 of the lead, Stone lane 3. And then contested between lanes 4, 6, and 7. Out in lane 7 for Wheaton right now, that's Bridget Cleveland. First place for Roger Williams, lane 4. Kicking it off was Weiler. Hartman still in the lead in the backstroke, coming on to the last 25 for it, and she'll tap in Meg Dickinson. Dickinson, the talented junior out of Narragansett, Rhode Island. So it's Hartman to the wall first, Dickinson into the pool. In the wall second in lane 3, it's going to be Clucci for Wheaton. Clucci, the talented senior, currently sits in second. Dickinson still out in first for the Lions as we're on to the butterfly, and it's contested for third place. Lane 4 for Roger Williams right now, Bella Kuzbeck, and out in lane 7 for the Lions, it's Karis Mann.
The relays are really the strong suit for the Wheaton women. They dominated during the NEWMAC Championship, finished second or first most of the time, and during the regular season, they've always excelled in the relay events.
And they're excelling right now. Wheaton still out first and second. Dickinson first place, that relay team in lane 5. She comes on to her last 25, and Clucci touches the wall. She's on to the last 25. Dickinson's going to get ready to hand it off to Katie Walls, and Walls, a member of the team that went to nationals last year, and she led the way for the Lions in the win over Bentley last weekend. Clucci still sitting in second. Roger Williams moves into third. In lane 4, it's going to be Kuzbeck giving it off to Schneider as we're on now with lane 5. It's still Wheaton. Walls first place. Lane 3, Lions still in the lead. Alexa DeTenzo. Roger Williams still holding third place in lane 4, and Schneider fourth place out in lane 7 for the Lions. It's Anna Curry. Still holding a good place out in front, it's Walls. Part of an extremely talented sophomore class for the Wheaton woman. And the anchor getting ready to enter the pool. It's the first year, Elle Finite. Wheaton still holding second place The anchor in lane 3 for the Lions, Amelia Butler, the junior, and not far behind her for Roger Williams. In lane 4, currently in 3rd, it's Tabitha DiDonato. Wheaton's relay team still out in front, lane 5, Infinity. Infinity down the stretch, running away with it. Butler in comfortably second place, lane 3. And as expected, Wheaton lane 5, that team's going to take first place. Butler will try to track it down, take second place for Wheaton. So it's Wheaton first and second, lanes 5 and 3, and coming in third place, it'll be Roger Williams, lane 4, with the anchor DiDonato finishing it. Fourth place looks like it's going to go to Wheaton as well. Lane 7, Allie Taylor will wrap it up, and lane 6 for Roger Williams, fifth place, Ava Devine.
So not uncommon at all to see Wheaton change up their lineup in the medley relay. Last year, virtually every relay they swam was a different lineup in that medley. Already this week we have a different lineup. Last week it was Hartman, Eller, Watson, and Campbell. This week obviously it was different with Hartman, Dickinson, Walls, and Finidi. And Finidi doing a great job in her first time in the medley relay with that A group for the Lions.
Yep, so Finidi swimming the anchor on the winning team in lane 5 with a winning time of 3:58.16. So that wraps up our first event of the day, taking us to event 2. It'll be the men's 400 medley relay. Lane 3 for Wheaton, Evan Domingos, Ben Goho, Colton Lebrecht, Wilson Brody. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Ross Macy, Riley Williams, Seth Sutton, Anderson Blake. And in lane 5 for the Lions, Gavin Cullinan, Andrew Tran, Braxton Farron, Will Larson, and rounding out the pack, lane 6, a Roger Williams team of Gareth Campbell, William Bonus Voodoo, Raymond Serro, and Andrew Mungovan.
So Cullinan and Tran are definitely swimmers to watch in this race for Wheaton. Both swam extremely well last weekend. As I mentioned, Cullinan with the 2 wins. Tran also had a win last weekend against Bentley. Both really talented swimmers. Tran won the 200 IM, so obviously very proficient in every stroke.
And Wheaton fell in that meet last week at Bentley, but granted, Bentley is a Division II team. As you were saying, Wick Cullen, good showing in his collegiate debut, tallied 22 points solely. And ready to get underway in the men's 400-yard medley relay here. Look for lane 4. Ross Macy to kick it off for Roger Williams, and Cullinan, lane 5 for the Lions.
And this is virtually the same lineup for Wheaton's A medley relay team. The only difference being with Larson swimming the freestyle instead of Hickson.
Swimmers are underway, and it's Cullinan, about a half-length lead as he's closing on the wall for his first 25. Second place, lane 4, Roger Williams. That's Macy. Still out in front, it's Cullinan, lane 5. Trying to challenge Macy is Domingos in lane 3 for Wheaton. Domingos, a senior out of Hampton, New Hampshire. He currently sits in 3rd, but Cullinan still out in first place, the first year out of Cumming, Georgia. Cullinan a length and a half lead as he'll give it off now to Andrew Tran. Tran still holding first place for the Lions relay in lane 5. Trailing in lane 4 for Roger Williams, it's Riley Williams. And still sitting in 3rd for Wheaton, lane 3. Now it's Ben Goho swimming the second leg of the 4-man relay. Cullen still holding a good place out in front. Making up a little bit of ground now in lane 4 for Roger Williams. It's Riley Williams. Cullinan's lead now down to about a tie. Cullinan's going to give it off to Braxton Farron. And in lane 4 for Roger Williams, Seth Sutton. Sutton's got to enter the pool with a lead in the third leg here as Cullinan loses a bit of ground. Farron's going to try to have to catch him to give it off to the anchor, Larson. That Roger Williams lead extending in lane 4. Sutton trying to stretch it. He threw 50 of his leg of the relay. Bounces off the wall, now going left to right. About a length lead on Farron. Sitting in third place, lane 3 for Wheaton right now, that's Colton Lebrecht. Sutton still holding a sizable lead for over the Lions now in lane 4. Roger Williams onto their anchor in lane 4. It's Blake Anderson, Wheaton's anchor. Lane 5, Will Larson. Larson, another first year. Here's out of Iowa City. And that Roger Williams lead's extending. It's Roger Williams first and fourth right now. Wheaton second and third. Going to take a sizable comeback in lane 5 from Larson as we're on to the last 25 for the men's 400 relay. Running away with it's going to be Roger Williams, lane 4, anchored by Blake Anderson taking the win in the men's 400-yard relay. Second place, Wheaton, lane 5. Will Larson anchoring. And in lane 3 for Wheaton, Brody Wilson will wrap up third place. Winning time for the Hawks, 3:33.58. Roger Williams will round it out in lane 6 with Andrew McGovern.
It's always good to get that win in the relay because you get the big points there with the first place finish, but it shouldn't be overlooked when you get second and third. You basically cut that deficit in half right away, so good showing by the Lions to pick up second and third there.
And good job by relay team in lane 3 to wrap up third place, as Wick was just saying. So Roger Williams with the win in the men's 400 relay. Wheaton second and third, Roger Williams fourth. Now that'll take us to one of our longer events. It'll be the women's 1,000-yard freestyle. In lane 1, Taylor Kutu for the Lions. Lane 2, Fiona Cashman, Roger Williams. Lane 3, Kat Foster for Wheaton. Lane 4, Sandy Remsen, Roger Williams. Lane 5, Tally Dalton for Wheaton. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Victoria Greenman, and rounding out the pack in lane 7 for Wheaton, it's Vivian Van Holland. Dalton has the top time coming into this race for Wheaton. Last week at Bentley, she clocked in with a time of 11:17.07. Dalton in lane 5, and right next to her for second place, it's Kat Foster in lane 3 for Wheaton.
As you mentioned, for Dalton last week, that was her, obviously the first collegiate race for her with a third place finish at Bentley. That's going to feel great for her, getting her first race under her belt and finishing third at the collegiate level.
Right now it's Foster and Dalton neck and neck for first place. Foster, a junior out of Weston, Connecticut. Dalton, first year out of Andover, Minnesota. So both on the men's and women's side, geographically a really spaced out freshman class that Barrett Roberts brought in.
Yeah, he's always done a good job of getting the best swimmers, no matter where they're from in the country. We have some from the West Coast here, from the Midwest. Hartman's from Michigan. Walls is from the West Coast, so really nice job by him in the recruiting area there.
Yeah, so arguably two of the best swimmers on the team for either men's and women's sides, as Wick was referring to, Reese Hartman, Katie Walls, both in the sophomore class. Hartman out of East Grand Rapids, Michigan, actually, and Walls out of Bellevue, Washington. So nowhere near Norton, Massachusetts, for those of you that need a little geography help, but just a testament to how well Barrett Roberts can recruit around the country. Wins 1,000 right now. It's Kat Foster still neck and neck with Dalton, lanes 3 and 5, in the lead for the Lions. A close race for third place in lane 4 for Roger Williams. It's Remsen out in lane 7 for Wheaton Van Hollen.
This race, as much as it's a test physically, it's also a test mentally. With so many laps and just so much time put into a long race like this, there's a reason why they have lap counters, because the swimmers, they're just out there doing their best, not really counting how many laps they're on. They're depending on their lap counters in front of them for that.
So for the lap counters right now, they're flashing 11 to the swimmers as they work back to their left. Foster still holding a good place in lane 3 for Wheaton. She's in the lead. Dalton behind her, lane 5 in second place, and just barely with an edge in third for Wheaton right now in lane 7. It's Van Hollen. Van Hollen, another first year on this team. She's from Excelsior, Minnesota. So second and third place in the pool for Wheaton right now, both first years out of Minnesota. Fourth place, Roger Williams. It's Remsen in lane 4. Behind her, Taylor Kutu, lane 1 for the Lions. Dalton about even with Kat Foster now. Both swimming at a similar place, lanes 3 and 5. After this, we'll have the men's 1,000. The events will just keep going back and forth. Whatever the women do, the men will follow the rest of the night. Foster and Dalton still even, lanes 3 and 5. Van Hollen still comfortably in third place in lane 7, not far behind her. Remsen in lane 4. She's Roger Williams' top swimmer at the moment in the women's 1,000.
This is one of those events that doesn't get a lot of attention, the 1,000, the 1,650. You know, it's like the distance runners. They don't get as much attention as the sprinters do. Same thing in swimming. When you have a top distance swimmer, you're really locked in for a long time. And the Lions had the luxury of that with Lydia DeCorday 4 years prior to this, where she was such a good swimmer in the 1,000, the 1,650. So it's great to see them with two of the top swimmers in this event right now against Roger Williams.
As you were saying that, Wick, we have a clear first place swimmer at the moment. Dalton overtakes Foster. Dalton in lane 5, currently in first. Foster, lane 3, second place for Wheaton, and third place also belonging to Wheaton, lane 7, Van Hollen. Fourth place, Roger Williams. Been in that position the whole race. It's Remsen in lane 4.
I know it's very early, but when you win that opening relay and then you pull out a 1-2-3 sweep in the very next event, you're really putting a lot of space between you and your opponent right off the bat, and that's kind of hard to make up during the meet. You know, you have to chip away at that throughout the meet in order to get there.
It's a women's team that was very dominant last year, and after one meeting about an event and a half tonight, it looks like we might have the same story. Easily took down Division II Bentley last weekend, 180 to 115. Dalton increasing her lead in lane 5. And then easily in second and third, Foster, Van Hollen, 1, 2, 3 for the Lions at the moment. Remsen, 4th place for the Hawks, lane 4. Just over 7 minutes into the women's 1,000. Wheaton first, second, and third. Dalton steadily increasing her lead in lane 5. Foster still holding good place, lane 3. Van Hollen may be slowing down a tick out in lane 7. Remsen, by the eye, looks to be making up a bit of ground, trying to prevent what would be a Wheaton sweep 1 through 3.
Right now, Dalton is right on pace with her split time from last week. Last week, she swam 7:50.39 at this point. She hit the wall about the same time this time around.
Dalton at the point where we might start lapping competitors, so another testament to Barrett Roberts. Lost a senior class that was led by DeCorday, but from the looks of it, he's reloaded.
And that's really the key. You know, that's how you continue to stay on top. You have talented swimmers, but then you have to kind of refresh the bank every 4 years, or every year, actually.
And this was Lydia DeCorday's one of the top events. For those of you who don't know, All-American multiple years here at Wheaton, so good sign that a first-year student filling in for her first place in the 1,000. Dalton still stretching out her lead. Van Hollen still holding on to third, while Foster sits in second for the Lions. It's going to be a short turnaround for the Wheaton women. They'll be back in action tomorrow against Wellesley. There'll be a meet that takes place on the road. Wheaton men won't be swimming in that because Wellesley all-girls school. Over 10 minutes in now. Approaching the end, it's Dalton, the first year, dominating this race. Van Hollen going to try to surpass teammate Kat Foster for second place. Foster still holding on to it at the moment. Remsen in lane 4 for Raj Williams. Sits in 4th to lead the Hawks. That horn means we're on to our last lap. Dalton approaching the wall here right in front of us. She'll have 25 to go. And what should be and will be an easy win. Van Hollen's going to try to chase down Foster in the last 25. Van Hollen lane 7, Foster the junior in lane 3. Remsen about 2 lengths behind Van Hollen, sitting in 4th place overall, first for Roger Williams. Dalton first place, that's a lock, and Foster will touch the wall, 2nd place, Van Hollen 3rd. Remsen in 4th place, but Out of the top three is Remsen. So 1, 2, and 3, the Wheaton women sweep the 1,000-yard freestyle. Tally Dalton, first place for Wheaton, lane 5, the time of 11:10:08. Seven seconds ahead of her time from last week, which was 11:07:07. Taylor Kutu got 5th for Wheaton, then Roger Williams rounds out the rest of the pack with Cashman and Greeman. 2 events in for the Wheaton women. They've been dominant, taking the win in the women's 400-yard medley relay and a sweep in the women's 1,000.
Really great race, as you mentioned. Big improvement for Dalton there. Swam 7 seconds faster than last week. Foster, 12-second improvement from last week. And then how about Van Hollen? She swam 11:41:36 last week, 11:20:23 this week. Shaved 21 seconds off her best from last weekend.
That amount of time in just 1 week of time, really impressive note there for Van Hollen. So Wheaton women sweep the women's 1,000. That'll take us to the men's 1,000 now. Looking at the field in lane 1. For the Lions, it's Caden Gilbert. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Cooper Sever. Lane 3, Wheaton, Sean Hill. Lane 4, for Roger Williams, James McLaren. Lane 5, Wheaton, William Garneau. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Alvin Gay. Lane 7, Wheaton, Aiden Carberry. And rounding out the pack, in lane 8 for the Hawks, it's Gavin McCann. In lane 5 for the Lions, out in first place, it's Garneau. Garneau, a senior out of Glastonbury, Connecticut. Right behind him, his teammate in lane 3, currently in third, it's Sean Hill. Hill's a sophomore out of Ellsworth, Maine. Hill also part of a very talented sophomore class for the Wheaton men that had a good showing last year as first years.
Hill did not swim this event last week against Bentley. He actually holds the school record in the 1,000. Broke that at the NUMAC Championship last year during the 1650 during a split.
Hill trying to get back to where he was last year, as you said, Wick. Didn't swim in this event last week, so making his 1,000 debut here in Balfour Natatorium for the 2022-2023 season.
Garneau is the top finisher in this race against Bentley last weekend with a third-place finish.
And there's Garneau in lane 5, sitting in first place. Hill not far behind him, lane 3 second, leading the way for Roger Williams in third place, lane 4, James McLaren. Right behind McLaren, fourth place for the Hawks. It's in lane 6, Alvin Gay. So
this would be a great opportunity for Wheaton to make up points in this event. You have Hill out in front. If Garneau can pull out second place, that would be 13 points right there off the bat for Wheaton.
Just going to say, so used to calling sports like field hockey and soccer recently. I haven't called a swim meet in a while. Almost said that Alvin Gay was wearing number 6, but no, he's in lane 6. Garneau about even with the sophomore Hill in lane 3. Come to the wall here. Hill might even have a slight advantage. And now he does coming off the wall, so it's Hill in first place in lane 3 by a hair. Garneau second place, lane 5. But right on their tail is James McLaren in lane 4 for the Hawks. Gay still sitting in 4th place. He's in lane 6 for Roger Williams.
Hill really swimming at a nice, easy pace right here. Obviously, this isn't a race where he's going to be putting in a school record time or anything like that. It's his first race of the season in a meet, so I think he's just taking his time, and we might see more from him toward the end of this race.
Taking his time, but in first place. Just over 3.5 into the men's 1,000. Garneau still sits in second. Making up some ground for third place, Roger Williams, James McLaren. McLaren's a senior for this Roger Williams team. He went to high school at Bridgewater Raynham Regional, right down the road from where we are in Norton. McLaren steadily making up some ground. He's almost even with Garneau for second place. Hill still barely holding on to the lead in lane 3. Can almost say McLaren's officially in second place now in lane 4. Garneau starting to slow down a bit. Now McLaren's going to try to catch Hill in lane 3. Garneau moving back to third place, lane 5. McLaren steadily making up ground on Hill in lane 3, and it looks like McLaren passes him. So what was first and second place for the Lions moves to second and third. James McLaren of Roger Williams in first place in lane 4. Over halfway through the men's 1,000. So it's McLaren first place, lane 4 at the moment. But right there with him, just barely in second place, is Hill in lane 3, Garneau. Third place, lane 5. Fourth place belongs to the Hawks in lane 6, Alvin Gay. And in lane 2, sitting in 5th, Cooper Sever for Roger Williams. Hill and Garneau trying to hold McLaren's lead to a minimum as we're over 6 minutes through now. McLaren trying to lengthen that lead in lane 4. Hill still sitting in second, but Garneau not far behind him in third. If you're Wheaton here, you got to try to hold on to second and third place at least to keep that point deficit to a minimum. And in lane 6 for Roger Williams, it's Gay that's going to try to keep this in Roger Williams' favor and possibly take 2 out of the top 3 spots. McLaren extending his lead in lane 4. In second place now, it's Garneau in lane 5. Hill falls back to third in lane 3, but with Roger Williams Gay not far behind him, just a length back in lane 6. McLaren still expanding his lead. Garneau trying to keep it close. Gay is close to catching up to Hill. Gay in lane 6, Hill in lane 3. Clarence swing a really strong race for the Hawks in lane 4. Garneau looks like he may be falling back a bit. Still sits in second place. Hill barely holding on to third in lane 3. Coming up on 9 minutes into this one. We'll be coming down the stretch soon. It's still McLaren out in front. And it looks like Gay in lane 6 has moved into third place, so Roger Williams first and third. Garneau in second place out of lane 5 for Wheaton. McLaren really letting it air out in lane 4 for the Hawks. Garneau's going to try to have to fend off Gay for second place, but don't count out Sean Hill in lane 3. On to the last 50 now as the buzzer sounds. It's still McLaren out in front. It's going to be a battle for who can take 2 spots in the top 3. Gay trying to hold on to his lead for third place in lane 6. Garneau still sitting in second in lane 5 for Wheaton. Sean Hill's going to try to have to catch Gay to get third place, but in first place, McLaren lane 4. It's going to be Garneau second place, lane 5. It'll be close for third place coming down the stretch. In third place, mounting the comeback, Sean Hill. Lane 3, Gay takes fourth place in lane 6, so Wheaton doesn't come away with a win in the men's 1,000, but second and third place, I'd say they take it.
I have to admit, it was surprising that Hill had fallen back of Garneau there, but it wasn't surprising to see him come back and slip in there in third place. That's important for Wheaton. I mean, they don't get those points in first place, but they get the 4 and the 3 in second and third. So it helps keep that deficit about the same as what it was after the first event.
McLaren had the winning time in lane 4 for the Hawks, 10:27.68. Garneau, second place, lane 5, led the way for the Lions, 10:33.02.
So we do have results after the 1,000 for the women, and Wheaton currently leads Roger Williams 31-5. Going into this race for the men, Roger Williams led Wheaton 11-6. So they get 12 points in this one with 9 in first and 2 and 1 in fourth and fifth. So that's 12, and Wheaton got 7. So it's now 23-13 unofficially after the 1,000 for the men. Roger Williams in front.
Only 10 points back for the men. That's something that you could definitely come back from. Still a lot of this meet left to go. As you said, Wick, women continue their dominance. They're out to a huge lead over the Hawks. So that wraps up the men's 1,000 with McLaren taking first place for Wheaton. First place for Roger Williams, lane 4. Wheaton gets second and third with Garneau and Hill. That'll now take us to the women's 200-yard freestyle. A look at the field in lane 1 for Wheaton, Bridget Cleveland. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Ava Devine. Lane 3, Wheaton, Emily Eds. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Gabriella Carr. In lane 5 for the Lions, El Finetti. In lane 6, Roger Williams, Victoria Fahey. Lane 7, Wheaton, Emma Lambert-Chameau. And lane 8 for the Hawks, Frankie Arnold. They're into the pool and off in the women's 200-yard freestyle. Through the first 25 with a really, really slight lead. In lane 4 for the Hawks, it's Carr. Finite not far behind her in lane 5.
Finite coming off a second-place finish in this event last weekend against Bentley.
Finite was just a couple tenths of a second behind Carr for first place. So it's Carr and Finite neck and neck for first place, but also in the mix in lane 3 for the Lions, it's Emily Eds. Ed's a senior out of Orcutt, California. Through the first 100. Finite moving out in first place by a hair over Carr. Ed's right there in third, lane 3, and not far behind them. Currently in fourth in lane 7. For the Lions, it's Lambert-Chameau. Ed's going to try to give a bid for first place in lane 3. Wheaton first and second, it looks like, with Eds in lane 3, Finite in lane 5. Carr leading the way for the Hawks in fourth place, lane 4. Eds and Finite. Two teammates, lane 3 and 5, battling for first. Carr trying to make up ground in lane 4. Down the stretch into the wall first in lane 3. Shockingly, it's Emily Eds with the win. Second place, Finite, lane 5. And in third place in lane 4, leading the way for Roger Williams, Gabriella Carr. Emily Eds, big win in lane 3 for Wheaton, 2:01.02. But Finite just behind her. Second place at 2:01.04. Third place, Carr for the Hawks at 2:01.51. So a really contested race for the Hawks and the Lions that goes in favor of the Lions, taking first and second place.
That's a big win for Eads there. Last weekend, she finished first in the butterfly and the 200 fly for the Lions. This week, I mean, really, really great race for Emily there. Finite right there at second place. Great showing by the Lions.
Wheaton women expand their lead after the fifth event. Fifth event combined, I should say. We're on to event 6 overall. It's the men's 200-yard freestyle field. Lane 1, Alexander McKenna for Wheaton. Lane 2, Ross Macy, Roger Williams. Lane 3 for Wheaton, Brody Wilson. And currently in second place for the Hawks in lane 4, Brody Ibrahim. First place for Wheaton, lane 5. As expected, Brian Hickson, lane 6. Currently in third for the Hawks, Riley Williams, lane 7 for Wheaton, William Chappell, and lane 8 for Roger Williams, Andrew McGovern. Hickson in first place by just a bit, Ibrahim right behind him.
Hickson did not swim in this event last weekend for the Lions, so this is our first time seeing him in this race for Wheaton.
It's like Hickson moves into second place by just a hand leg. Ibrahim in first place for the Hawks. Brody Ibrahim, a senior out of Sunnyside, New York. Hickson moving into third. In second place for the Hawks in lane 6, Riley Williams. Hickson's going to try to take back second place, maybe even first. It looks like Hickson might have surpassed Ibrahim and moved into second. Down the wall and taking the win in lane 6 for Roger Williams with a winning time of 1:47.87. It's Riley Williams. Second place, lane 5, 1:48.89 for Wheaton.
That's
Brian Hickson.
Great showing for Hickson in his first collegiate race at the 200 free. Can't ask for more than that. Would have been great to get the win, but really did a nice job there finishing second for Wheaton.
Rounding out the pack, third place in lane 4 for Roger Williams, Brody Ibrahim. Roger Williams first and third in the men's 200, and coming up, the two quickest events of the night, women's and men's 50 free, it's going to be 50 backstroke actually, so not the two quickest events. Thought it was the 50 freestyle, but it's the 50 backstroke to come. And if you're looking at a favorite, I think a safe bet would be Reese Hartman in lane 5 for Wheaton. Rest of the pack, lane 1, Isabella Chelsea for the Lions. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Alexandra Betts. Lane 3 for Wheaton, Hope Campbell. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Ulla Holler. As I just talked about, lane 5 for Wheaton, Reese Hartman. Lane 6, Mia Raleigh for the Hawks. And in lane 7 for Wheaton, it's Leah Schulte.
This should be a good event for Wheaton. As you mentioned, Hartman the favorite, but don't sleep on Hope Campbell. Experienced swimmer, swim at the high level for Wheaton, and here she is right now challenging Hartman for first.
So it's Hartman down the stretch. She'll come away with the win as expended. Campbell, second place, lane 3 for Wheaton, and rounding out the pack, third place, lane 7, Leah Schulte. So 1, 2, 3. Another sweep for the Lions.
And that's how they win meets, by large margins. When they win those events with a big sweep, 1, 2, 3 right at the top. That's big points right there every time.
So last week at Bentley, Hartman swam this event at 28.24. This week she eclipsed that time, first place time of 27.80. So Reese Hartman continues her collegiate dominance with a win in the women's 50-yard backstroke. Second place, lane 3, Hope Campbell, and rounding out the sweep for the Lions, lane 7, Leah Schulte. Now that'll take us to event 8 of the night, the men's 50 backstroke. Lane 1 for Wheaton, Eric Booth. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Vince Tiroli. Lane 3, Wheaton, Anson Lopez. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Luke Austin. Lane 5, Wheaton, Gavin Cullinan. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Jonathan Smith. Lane 7, Wheaton, Evan Domingos. And rounding out the pack in lane 8 for the Hawks, it's Gareth Campbell. Cullinan, early lead coming through the first 25 in lane 5. Not far behind him, third place, lane 3, Lopez. Talented returner, he was a first year last year, looking for a big sophomore campaign. Coming down the wall though in lane 5, it's the first year. Actually, no, lane 3, it's Lopez gonna say he beat. I think we actually might have had a malfunction on this last rake. It's saying Cullinan in lane 5 came in 8th place with a time of 31 seconds. He's listed as the only finisher over 31 seconds, so.
Yeah, what happened there, it's probably a false touch on the pad. He might not have hit it right away, so he'll have to go to the backup just to see what the time was, but he clearly won the race in lane 5 there.
I was going to say, I was surprised to see Anton Lopez listed at first place in lane 3, but then I realized what the margin was, that obviously a malfunction in the system, so it is going to be unofficially at the moment, but safe to say Cullinan taking the win in the men's 50-yard backstroke. Anton Lopez second place for Wheaton, and listed in second place, but actually third place in lane 6 for Roger Williams, Jonathan Smith. Now takes us to the women's 50 breaststroke at the field. Lane 1, Maddie Curran, Wheaton. For Roger Williams, lanes 2 and 4, Maya Chase, Bella Kuzbek. Wheaton lanes 3 and 5, Brooke Clucci, Megan Dickinson. Lanes 6 and 8 for Roger Williams, Brenna Gilmet, and Brooke Irons. And rounding out the pack in lane 7 for the Lions, it's the sophomore Alexa DiCenzo.
So results following the 200 freestyle, we have Wheaton women leading Roger Williams 46-9. Roger Williams leading Wheaton 37-18 on the men's side.
Event number 9 underway, the women's 50 breaststroke. Early lead in lane 5, Meg Dickinson. Clucci's going to try to track her down, her teammate in lane 3. Clucci, even with Dickinson lanes 3 and 5 right now. Not far behind them, third place, lane 4, Kuzbek for Roger Williams. Down the stretch, running away with it in lane 5 and taking the win in the women's 50-yard breaststroke, Meg Dickinson. Second place, lane 3 for the Lions, it's Clucci. Rounding out the pack in third place. So avoiding the sweep was Roger Williams as Kuzbek finished in third place in lane 4. Winning time in lane 5 for Dickinson, 30 seconds, .87. Second place, lane 3, Clucci at a time of 31.14.
And that result was not unexpected. Dickinson's great in that event. And Clucci swam really great in the breaststroke events last week as well for Wheaton.
So the Wheaton woman first and second in the 50 breaststroke now, taking us to the men's 50 breaststroke. Looking at the field, Aiden Carberry, lane 1 for Wheaton. His teammate, Andrew Tran, in lane 3. Roger Williams, lanes 2 and 4, Raymond Serro, Ryan Durea. Wheaton lane 5 and 7, Ben Goho, Noah Kaplan. And rounding out the pack, Roger Williams lane 6 and 8, Lars Hajerpi and William Bonvisuto. Right now, Wheaton and Roger Williams neck and neck in lane 2 for Roger Williams. It's Serro. Lane 5 for Wheaton, it's Goho. Looks like Goho's making up a little bit of ground. Last few strokes to the wall, and he'll get the win. Big win for Goho in Wheaton, lane 5, winning time of 27.71 in the men's 50 breaststroke. Second place, lane 2 for Roger Williams, Raymond Serro, and in third place, lane 4 for the Hawks, Ryan Durea. So Roger Williams gets the majority 1 through 3, but it's Goho in lane 5 getting the win for the Lions.
Really big showing there for Goho for Wheaton. It's possible that Tran could have finished higher than that, but still great race for Tran. First year, really had a great weekend last week against Bentley, as we mentioned before.
So both Wheaton, women's and men's, coming away with wins in the 50 breaststroke event. That takes us to event 11, the women's 100 fly. Looking at the field in lane 1 for Wheaton, it's Anna Curry. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Ava Begini. Lane 3 for Wheaton, Lily Watson. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Noelle Schneider. In lane 5 for Wheaton, the talented sophomore Katie Walls. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Miranda Castro. Lane 7, Wheaton, Darren Stone. And rounding out the pack in lane 8 for the Hawks, Katarina Lacio.
You got to feel good for Wheaton with Watson and Walls there in lanes 3 and 5. Both really talented swimmers.
As I said earlier, Walls, sophomore out of Washington. And right with her is the junior Watson out of Waterford, Connecticut. In lane 5 with a slight advantage, it's Walls. Right behind her, second place. Looks like Roger Williams has it, lane 4, Schneider. Schneider making up a bit of ground. Walls is going to have to hold her off out in lane 5. Walls to the wall, and she'll finish first with the win in the women's 100 fly. Gets a time of under a minute, 59.15, but it was a close one. Second place for Roger Williams, lane 4. Schneider with a time of 59.17. Third place is going to belong to Wheaton in lane 7, Garen Stone. So Wheaton first and second, Wheaton first and third, Roger Williams second in the women's 100 fly, led by Katie Walls.
That's a really big finish for Garen Stone in lane 7 for Wheaton. I did not know what to expect out of her in this event, and for her to finish third like that is really big.
Wraps up the women's 100 fly, takes us to the men's 100 fly. Anthony Meglin in lane 1 for Wheaton, lane 2, Roger Williams, Jonathan Smith. For Wheaton in lanes 3 and 5, it's Colton Lebrecht and Braxton Farron. 4 and 6 for the Hawks, it's going to be Seth Sutton and Ross Macy. Lane 7 for Wheaton, Luis Bonetti. And in lane 8 for the Hawks, it's Gareth Campbell. Through the first 25, looks like it's Roger Williams first and second, lanes 4 and 6 with Sutton and Macy. But right there for Wheaton in lane 5, it's Farron. Through the first 50 with the lead in lane 4 for the Hawks. At the moment, it's Sutton. Farron right behind him, lane 5, second place. Making a push for third in lane 3 for the Hawks. That's for the Lions, actually. That's Lebrecht. Lebrecht right there with Farron out in lane 6 for Roger Williams. Macy also in the mix. Coming down the stretch with an easy win in lane 4, it's Sutton for the Hawks. Second place is going to go to Farron in lane 5. Third place, lane 6, Macy. And just missing out on the top 3 in lane 3, it's Lebrecht. Roger Williams takes first and third, Wheaton in second in the men's 100 fly, led by Farron.
And I do have the results here through the 50 breaststroke. And as we said, Cullinan actually did get the win in the backstroke. He finished with a time of 24:86. Now after 10 events, the women, Wheaton lead Roger Williams 77-16. The men, Roger Williams leads 49-44. It is very close.
And with that, now for the fastest event on both sides, it's the women and men 50-yard freestyle. Lane 1 for Wheaton, Ann Sweeney. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Avon Beginny. Lane 3, Wheaton, Amelia Butler. Lane 4, Tabitha Donato for Roger Williams. Lane 5, Hope Campbell, Wheaton. Lane 6, Ava Devine, Roger Williams. Lane 7, Simone for Wheaton. Lane 8, Roger Williams, Fahey. Right now it's Wheaton first and second, lanes 3 and 5. That's Butler and Campbell. Hard to tell who's in first from here. Looks like it's Campbell in lane 5. It'll be Campbell to the line first place in lane 5 for the Wheaton College Lions. Second place, lane 3, Amelia Butler. And in third place, it belongs to Roger Williams. Lane 4, Tabitha DiDonato.
What a tremendous win for Campbell there. Quick turnaround. She just swam the 50 back, and now here she is back again in the 50 free. Wins that race. Really great showing from Campbell.
And Campbell flew in that race, winning time at 24:84. Also a strong showing in lane 1. And Sweeney getting fourth place for Wheaton. That'll take us to the men's 50 free. Lane 1, Will Garno for Wheaton. Lane 2, Vince Tiroli, Roger Williams. Lanes 3 and 5, Wheaton, Lopez, and Hickson. Lanes 4 and 6 for Roger Williams, Anderson, and Ibrahim. Lane 7, Wheaton's Will Larson, and in lane 8, Michael Holmes for the Hawks. It's going to be a fast race as they're off into the pool for the men's 50 free. Lane 5 for Wheaton. Watch out for Hickson. 3, 4, and 5 all close with Hickson in 5, Blake in 4, Lopez in 3. It might be Anderson with a slight advantage out in front, lane 4 for Roger Williams. He's going to fly getting to the wall first. Second place, lane 3. It's going to belong to Anton Lopez. Third place, lane 5, Brian Hickson. But the win goes to Blake Anderson in lane 4 for Roger Williams. 21 seconds, .73. Second place, lane 3. That was Lopez, 22.14. Third place, lane 5, Hickson at 22.46.
I think the only surprise in that race, we expected Lopez to swim really well there, and he did. finished second place for Wheaton. Really fast swim. Thought that Larson might swim a little bit faster than that and place a little bit higher, but it is his first year. He'll get to know how these races go generally at the collegiate level, but still, great finish for Wheaton there, getting third place from Hickson. Hickson's really had a great meet so far.
So with that, Roger Williams takes first place in the men's 50 free, led by Blake Anderson in lane 4. But Wheaton takes second and third with Lopez and Hickson. Going to take a bit of a break in the swimming pool now, move over to our right as diving's getting ready to start up. That's going to be event 15 in particular. And a quick note, won't be a competition like you're seeing for swimming, as Roger Williams actually does not have a diving program at the moment. So it's going to be 3 Wheaton divers competing here. But I talked to Bella Barrett before, one of the Wheaton women's divers alongside Morgan Coughlin-Doyle. Barrett said, although we're not competing, it's still going to be exciting because it's going to be meet-like in the sense that a packed crowd is in attendance here inside Balfour Natatorium. Basically said it's going to be like a practice with fans.
A practice nonetheless. All the dives count, all the points count. Morgan Coughlin-Doyle had a great weekend last week against Bentley. Finished with career highs on both the 1 meter and 3 meter boards. Peter Beyer, always looking for a personal record finish in his dives. Same thing with Bella. So doesn't matter. It's usually them against the board anyway. Doesn't matter if there's another team here or not. They're always looking to get their best scores.
So 2 women on the diving team here are Wheaton. Bella Barrett, the junior, Morgan Coughlin-Doyle, the sophomore, and the lone men's diver on the team, Peter Beyer. Beyer actually out of New Orleans, so shows a lot about him and his mindset coming into this. Only men's diver on the team, coming from far away. So a lot of trust behind Coach Barrett Roberts for him there, to just show the faith that it takes to bring in a guy from the other side of the country, all the way down Louisiana, to come in and be the lone diver on the team. And to say the least, I think Beyer has took off and ran with it since getting onto campus last fall.
Beyer's only going to get better. Beyer had really very little diving experience before he came to Wheaton. This year, I know they're excited to have a new coach at the helm for them. So I spoke to him before, and he says he's learned a lot from the new coach. And Danielle Morley, she was actually here before. She coached in the early part of the decade for Wheaton and took a break, coached at UMass Dartmouth, where she's actually in the UMass Dartmouth Hall of Fame as a diver when she was an undergrad. So she really adds a lot to this program in terms of their coaching.
It's like a little bit of a lull in the action before diving gets underway. So with that, we'll use the time to take a quick break, but stay with us. Still got a long way to go here. It's Roger Williams versus Wheaton College. Women's and men's swim and dive on the NewMax Sports Network. Diving action starting up here Morgan Coughlin Doyle off the board first. Coughlin Doyle, a sophomore out of Maine, in particular Topsham, Maine. Attended Lewiston High School.
So the scores for Morgan on that, a 6, a 6, and a 4.5.
Following Coughlin Doyle, it's the junior Bella Barrett. Bella Barrett 6.5, 7, 5.5. Divers currently going off the 1 meter board. Later on, they'll go off the 3 meter board. There's Peter Byer, the lone men's diver on the team. 8, 7.5, 7.
Those are tremendous scores for Byer on that first dive. Bella's second dive here, it's a 201B back dive. Morgan's second dive, it's a 201C back dive, tuck, 1.5 degree of difficulty.
Even just based off that one dive I just saw from Byer, since the last time I saw him in the pool, that just looks so much more sound and so much more at a high level for Byer there. So really impressive stuff for
Absolutely.
the sophomore.
Scores for Coughlin Doyle there, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. Really great showing from her on that. Here's Bella's second dive, a 201B back dive. Pike, 1.6 degree of difficulty.
Barrett's a junior out of Wakefield, Mass. Attended Wakefield Memorial High School. Didn't dive at Wakefield Memorial. Was on the swim team then, along with Byer. Kind of took a shot in the dark to come here to dive at Wheaton College, but still with a swimming background.
Good scores for Bella there. 6, 6, 5.5. And here's Peter again, second dive. It's a 103C front. 2.5 somersault, tuck, 2.4 degree of difficulty. This is going to be a big dive.
So it'll be the 3 athletes from Wheaton College diving right now off the 1 meter board. After that, the swimming will start back up. It'll be led by the women's 100 free. Byer there off the board, 5, 6, 5.5.
And those are good scores for him. I mean, that's a 2.4 degree of difficulty. That's a really good showing from him. This is Morgan's third dive, a 301C reverse tuck, 1.6 degree of difficulty.
Reverts back now, top of the order, as you said, with Coughlin Doyle. Doyle, a former gymnast turned diver, so all 3 divers with a bit of their own story on how they made their way here to Wheaton on the dive team.
Really good scores there again for Morgan, 6, a 6.5, 6.5. Bella's third dive here, it's a 301C reverse dive, tuck, 1.6.
Barrett off the board now, tucks and enters the water. Back first. Scores are going to be 6s across the board.
And then Byer's third dive here, it's a 201B back dive, pike 1.6.
Byer will start with his back facing the water. Heels just off the board. Byer springs in the water. Didn't get a lot of vertical extension on that one. Scores reflect that a little bit. 4.5, 5.5, and a 5. So not what Byer was looking for there, but still with chances to redeem himself. Still very early on into the competition.
Coughlin Doyle is fourth. It's a 403C forward, 1.5 somersault. Tuck 2.2. This is going to be a big dive. Small splash there from Coughlin Doyle. Let's see what the judges say. And
They'll agree the small splash leads to good scores. 7, 7.5, and an 8 for Coughlin Doyle.
Really great execution there from MCD. Now we have Bella. Her fourth dive, it's a 402C inward somersault, tuck, 1.6.
Barrett also starting back to the water. Using the board for a bit of momentum as she gets ready to enter the water. Enters the same way she was standing on the board, and scores are 6, 6.5, and a 7, so strong dive there from the junior Barrett.
Really good dive there from Barrett. Got into that really quick, and then her vertical was exceptional going into the water. Here's Byers' fourth dive. It's a 301B reverse dive pike, 1.7.
Byer getting really far away from the board on that dive. Scores are 2 6s and a 5.5.
Really didn't have to do much there. Still scored pretty well on the board. Those are important points for him. This is Morgan's fifth dive. It's a 51-32D forward, 1.5 somersault and a full twist. Free dive, 2.2. It's going to be a big dive too.
Coughlin Doyle into the air and then into the water. Judges get their scores ready, flash it to the table. Now over to Russ, 6.5, 6.5, and a 7.
Really good execution there from Coughlin Doyle. She's really having a nice set right now in the 1 meter board. Bella's fifth dive, it's a 51-22D forward somersault. She has a twist, and it's a 1.9 difficulty.
Barrett, bit of a running start, doing that corkscrew twist as Wick was just talking about. 5.5 and 2 6.5s for Barrett.
Again, really good scores for Barrett there. All three divers have been performing really well. Byers' fifth dive, it's a 403C inward, 1.5 somersault tuck, 2.2. Again, another difficult dive for Byer. Don't usually see somebody with a difficult dive in their second dive, but in the fifth and sixth, that's where you usually see those, and then we're going to see one right here.
Byer will start facing away from the water. Extends both of his arms out as he now use the board to build momentum. Numbers should be reflected highly on this one. That looked like a strong dive from Byer, and they are. 8, 7.5, and a 7 for Peter Byer.
Really getting great scores from the judges tonight. All three divers, as we said. Sixth dive, the final dive for Morgan. It's a 52-23D back. 1 somersault, 1.5 twist, free, 2.3. Get ready for this one.
Coughlin Doyle on her 8th dive. Probably a bigger splash than she would have wanted for that one, but still scores that I'm sure she would take. 6, 6.5, and a 7 for MCD.
Great scores. Wouldn't be surprised if she just had her personal best on the 1 meter board. This is Bella's sixth as well. 52-11A back. It's a half twist. 1.8 forward dive. Free dive, excuse me.
Scores for Barrett, 2 5.5s and a 5. Probably entered the water a little flatter than she would have wanted.
Byers' sixth dive, it's a 52-31D back dive. 1.5 somersault with a half twist, 2.1. This is going to be a good dive for him to end his set on.
See what Byer can do here to end his set on the 1 meter board. A little bit of an over-rotation there from Byer. His feet entered the water a little quick, but still scores that he will take 5.5 and a 5.
Very respectable scores for Byer there. Great set overall for him. Again, would not surprise me at all if Coughlin Doyle has a personal best there with a 6-dive set on the 1-meter board. Same thing for Byer. Really, really good stuff from the Wheaton divers.
Good showing there from the Wheaton divers on the 1-meter board. We'll turn back over to the pool now. Event 17, the women's 100 free.
And we do have scores going into the diving. Wheaton was leading Roger Williams 106.25. Roger Williams leads Wheaton's men 74.57 going into that. So Byer right away will pick up 9 points to make that 74.66. So it's just an 8-point difference right now for the men.
Quick look at the field before we get back over in the pool with the women's 100 free. In lane 1 for Wheaton, Laurel Mitchell. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Noelle Schneider. Lane 3, Wheaton, Lily Watson. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Gabriella Carr. Lane 5 for Wheaton, Katie Walls. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Tabitha DiDonato. Lane 7, Wheaton, Emma Lambert-Shemo. And rounding out the pack in lane 8 for the Hawks, Ava Devine. Camera's not doing it justice right now, but a packed house here in Balfour Natatorium. Standing room only at the moment, up here on the upper level where Wick and I are positioned.
It's something you really like to see here in Balfour. The opening home meet for Wheaton Lions. And as you said, standing room only. Love to see it.
Also sure all the athletes competing are pumped to see this packed crowd and what will hopefully be a strong season for both the women and men. Women are gearing up off to our left to get ready to go in the 100 free. That'll be followed by event 18, the men's 100 free. A lot of 100 events coming up with the free backstroke and breaststroke. Then later on we'll have the 500 free. Then back to the 50s with butterflies, and we'll turn back to diving before ending our night with the IMs and a freestyle. The freestyle relay, to say in particular, event 31 of 32, the women's 200 freestyle relay, and then event 32, the final event of the night would be the men's 200 free. Music comes to a lull. The women about to take their marks in the 100 free. Watch out for Walls in lane 5. She can fly, to say the least. Walls, the time last week in the 100 free at Bentley, 54.24. And if things stay the way they have been for all the swimmers tonight, she can eclipse that time. Whistle blows, swimmers take their marks. Roger Williams needs to make up some grounds. They're trailing the Wheaton women significantly, looking at points. A chance to do it here, but Walls is going to try to keep the Wheaton ship out ahead. Through the first 25, she's in the lead, not far behind her. Lane 4 for Roger Williams. It's Carr. Lane 3, Lily Watson, also right there in the pack. Walls through the first 50. 25.77 through 50 for Walls. She's still out in front. And in second place, her teammate, lane 3, Lily Watson. Third place, Roger Williams, I should say, lane 4, Gabriella Carr. And in fourth, not far behind them, in lane 7 for the Lions, Lambert Shemo. But it's Katie Walls, as expected, continuing her dominance. She takes the win in the women's 100 free. Her teammate gets second place, Lily Watson. Lane 3, and rounding out the pack, the top 3 to say, lane 4 for Roger Williams, Gabriella Carr. Fourth place also goes to Wheaton, lane 7, Emma Lambert-Chemo. Walls' winning time, 54.34, so I was wrong at the beginning with my predictions. She was actually a 10th behind her time from last week, but still a winning time.
Yeah, as you said, totally expected. Walls is great in this event. She won at the 100 last weekend against Bentley. Something that we really could foresee in this race.
Now that takes us to the men's 100 free. In lane 1 for Wheaton, Luis Bonetti. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Vince Tiroli. Lane 3, Wheaton, Sean Hill. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Blake Anderson. Lane 5, Wheaton, Brian Hickson. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Brody Ibrahim. Lane 7, Wheaton, Will Larson. And lane 8 for Roger Williams, Michael Holmes. Look out for lanes, actually make that lanes 3 through 6, all with a chance to win. Sean Hill, Brian Hickson for Wheaton, Blake Anderson, Brody Ibrahim for the Hawks.
Really good race last weekend for Wheaton. Hill won this race against Bentley. I'm sorry, Hickson won this race last week against Bentley. Hill finished second, Larson finished fourth. So good potential for points here for the Lions.
Wheaton's going to leave it up to Hill and Hickson, lanes 3 and 5. Trying to make up some ground on the Hawks and come back and make this a really competitive and close meet. Coming on to the first 25 with about a half of an arm length lead. It's Hickson in lane 5, but quickly making that up was Anderson in lane 4 for the Hawks. It's a really tight mix, as I thought it would be, lanes 3 through 6. Right now with the lead in lane 4 for Roger Williams, it's Blake Anderson. He's been great all night. Not far behind him, second place, lane 5, Hickson. Third place, a close race. Right now, Sean Hill has it in lane 3. Fourth place, Ibrahim. Down the stretch and going to come away with the win in lane 4 for Roger Williams, Blake Anderson. Second place belongs to Hickson in lane 5. Third place, Hill in lane 3. Fourth place is going to go to Roger Williams, but not in lane 6. It'll be lane 2, Vince Tiroli. So Roger Williams, another win. Winning time, 48-2-1, lane 4 for Blake Anderson. Wheaton takes second and third with Hickson and Hill.
Really good to see there. Hill with a bounce back finish, getting third place for the Lions. And then how about Luis Bonetti finishing fourth for the Lions?
Bonetti fourth. Actually, no, lane.
Excuse me.
Yeah, lane 2. That was Tiroli finishing fourth for the Hawks.
Sure, had the numbers transposed there.
Now that'll take us to the women's 100-yard backstroke, and it's a field that'll have Reese Hartman as the favorite again, but looking at the rest of the pack, Bridget Cleveland for Wheaton, lane 1. Maya Raleigh, lane 2, Roger Williams. Garen Stone, lane 3, Wheaton, lane 4, Kate Weiler, Roger Williams. Hartman, the favorite, lane 5. Holler, lane 6 for the Hawks. Lane 7, Wheaton and Hope Campbell, lane 8. Alexandra Betts, Roger Williams. Talked to Hartman earlier this week. She was really excited for this one. Not only the home opener, but her parents making the trip all the way from Michigan to see her swim. They already saw her get a win tonight. Let's see if she can get another one. Through the first 50, sizable lead out in lane 5. Lane 3, second place, belongs to her teammate Garen Stone. Stone, a first year out of Barrington, Rhode Island. Hartman running away with it, Stone. Second place, lane 3. Third place on the outside, lane 7. It looks like it's Hope Campbell. But Reese Hartman continues her dominance along with Walls. She takes the win in lane 5 for the women's 100-yard backstroke. She eclipses a minute at 108.5. Second place time, lane 3, Garen Stone, 101.87. Third place, and another sweep yet again for the Wheaton woman, Hope Campbell at 103.05.
Again, really good showing for Hartman there. We expected that. What's also great to see is Garen Stone, another really good race for Wheaton tonight.
Now it takes us to the men's 100-yard backstroke. Lane 2 for the Hawks, Gareth Campbell. Lane 3, Wheaton, Anton Lopez. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Ross Macy. Lane 5, the first-year superstar for Wheaton, Gavin Cullinan. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Luke Austin. Lane 7, Wheaton, Evan Domingos. Lane 8, and Roger Williams, Jack Lynch. Cullinan and Lopez, lanes 5 and 3. Good chance to take first and second for Wheaton. But watch out for Ross Macy in lane 4 for the Hawks. Through the first 50, Cullinan with a lead in lane 5. Not far behind him, his teammate. Second place, lane 3, Anton Lopez. Making a push all the way out in lane 8 is Jack Lynch. Lynch could be sitting in third right now. It's close between him and his teammate Ross Macy in lane 4, but running away with it in lane 5, Gavin Cullinan takes the win in the men's 100-yard backstroke. Second place, Anton Lopez, lane 3. Third place is going to go out to lane 8. You don't say that a lot. Jack Lynch for Roger Williams.
Really exciting for the Lions. Gavin Cullinan, another really great performance, another win for him. Continuing just building off the momentum that he started last weekend against Bentley. Really great showing from the rookie again.
Cullinan winning time, 53.99. So over a full second ahead of the rest of the pack. Now that takes us to the women's 100 breaststroke. A look at the field. In lane 1 for Wheaton, Karis Mann. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Maya Chase. Lane 3, Wheaton, Brooke Clucci. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Bella Kuzbeck. Lane 5, and could be the favorite in this race, Meg Dickinson for the Lions. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Brenna Gilmet. Lane 7 for Wheaton, Alexa DiCenzo. And rounding out the pack in lane 8, Roger Williams, Brooke Irons. Right now, with an early lead, just barely in lane 3, it's Brooke Clucci. Lanes 4 and 5, Roger Williams, Kuzbeck, and Wheaton's Dickinson right there with Clucci. Now, through the first 50, it's Dickinson just ahead of Clucci, with the Hawks, Kuzbeck in third place in lane 4. Last 25. Clucci and Dickinson, the two teammates, going for first place. It's not going to be a Wheaton sweep, though, with Kuzbeck in lane 4, but a tight one. 3 and 5 for Wheaton, Dickinson and Clucci, but it's going to be Dickinson in lane 5, taking first place for Wheaton. Third place, Brooke Clucci. Lane 3. Third place, Roger Williams, top finisher, Bella Kuzbeck. Lane 4. Winning time for Dickinson in lane 5, 107.76. Clucci's time in lane 3, 108.56. Good for second place. That wraps up the women's 100-yard breaststroke. Wheaton in first and second with Dickinson and Clucci. Now into the men's 100-yard breaststroke. In lane 1, Noah Kaplan for Wheaton. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Large Hajerp. Lane 3, Wheaton, Ben Goho. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Raymond Serro. 5 and 7 For Wheaton, it's going to be Andrew Tran, Aiden Carberry. And 6 and 8 for the Hawks, Ryan Duray and Alvin Gay. Right now with an early lead through the first 25. Goho had it momentarily, but now the rest of the pack catches up. Neck and neck through the first 50 from Goho in lane 3 to Cerro in lane 4 for Roger Williams and Tran in lane 5. Also not far behind them, lane 6, Ryan Durea for the Hawks. Goho battling with Sarah. Right there, third place, lane 5 for Wheaton, it's Tran. It's going to be really tight coming down the stretch. Goho and Cerro with Tran there as well. They come to the wall in first place. It's going to be Cerro with a big comeback and a big win for Roger Williams. Second place, Goho, lane 5. And in third place, oh no, that was actually Tran, I'm sorry. Lane 5, Andrew Tran for Wheaton. Second place, Goho fell back to third in lane 3. Winning time there for Cerro in lane 4, 102.06.
Tran continues to have a really good season so far. As we said before, he had a good weekend last weekend against Bentley with the win. Here, that second place finish. And then how about Ben Goho? He's already got a win tonight. And then you add a third place finish. Really good stuff from Goho.
Wheaton second and third, but Roger Williams coming away with the win in the men's 100-yard breaststroke. Raymond Cerro leading the way for the Hawks. Now that'll take us to the women's 500-yard freestyle. Second longest event of the night. A lot of quick ones coming up after this. A look at the field for the women's 500 free. In lane 1 for Wheaton, Vivian Van Holland. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Victoria Greenman. Lane 3, Wheaton, Tally Dalton. Lane 4, Roger Williams. It's going to be Katie Weiler. Lane 5, Wheaton. It's Elle Finiti. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Sandy Remsen. Lane 7 for the Lions, Kat Foster. And rounding out the pack in lane 8 for Roger Williams, it's Fiona Cashman.
With Dalton winning this race earlier for the Lions, pretty good assumption that she's the favorite to win the 500. Usually the 1,000 sweeps when they swim the 500 and the 1,000, so look for her to repeat as a dual winner tonight for Wheaton.
Finiti, lane 5 has the lead. Not as long as the 1,000, obviously, but still a really grueling race in the 500.
Going into this race, Wheaton women holds a 137-32 lead over Roger Williams. For the men, Roger Williams leading Wheaton 92-77.
She's not racing in this, but Emily Eads for Wheaton last week swam in the 500 free, came away with a top time at 5:27.39. So look for a similar time to 5:27.39 for Finiti. Finiti's still out in first place. In second place right now for the Lions, out in lane 7, Kat Foster. It was Finiti and Foster first and second in the 1,000, and same narrative right now in the 500. Third place, Roger Williams at the moment, lane 6, Sandy Remsen. And in fourth place in lane 4, Weiler for the Hawks.
Good save, Jackson. I misspoke earlier, said that was Dalton. You're right, it was Finiti. Finiti is having a great night here for the Lions in the distance events.
Finiti still out in front. Foster being challenged for second place by Roger Williams, Sandy Remsen, who's in lane 6. Foster in lane 7. They're neck and neck at the moment. Still in fourth in lane 4 for the Hawks. It's Weiler. Approaching 3 minutes in to the women's 500 free. It's event 23 of 32 for the night.
So I need to correcting myself. It actually was Dalton with that win in the 1,000. But Fanaiti, who's a good swimmer in the 200, showing that she can extend that into the 500 as well.
Yeah, that one was on me. Wick, good catch. Got Dalton and Fanaiti confused, as you just said. It was Fanaiti in the 200, Dalton in the 500. But Kat Foster with a good showing in the 1,000. This is the 500 now to clear things up. A little bit confusing what I was just saying, but Foster, good showing 1,000 and 5,000. 1,000 and 500, she's in third right now in lane 7. Fanaiti in first, lane 5. Fanaiti still out in first place for the Wheaton woman here in the 500. Now moving into second place for Roger Williams. In lane 6, it's Remsen. Foster moving back into third for Wheaton. She's in lane 7, but not far behind Foster, trying to break into the top 3. In lane 4 for Roger Williams, it's Weiler. Fanaiti looks like she's really lengthening her lead in lane 5. It's still Remsen sitting in second place comfortably in lane 6. Foster just trying to hold on to third place. She's in lane 7, but now looks like moving into third place in lane 4 for Roger Williams. Weiler, and we're on to our last lap with Fanaiti still in the lead. Bearing the near impossible, Fanaiti's going to come away with the win here in the women's 500 free. Second place, still holding on for Roger Williams, Sandy Remsen. And now comfortably, to say the least, in third place, Sandy Remsen. No, it's Remsen in lane 6, Weiler in lane 4 for Roger Williams. But Fanaiti wraps up and takes the win in the women's 500 free. Second place in lane 6 for Roger Williams. Remsen, her teammate, in third place out of lane 4, Kate Weiler. Kat Foster takes fourth place in lane 7 for Wheaton. Roger Williams cracks 2 swimmers in the top 3 at second and third, but Fanaiti, the first year, with a big win. About 9 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. Winning time, 5:26.36.
And we do have final scores from the diving. Morgan Coughlin-Doyle ended up with 225.4 points. That is a new personal record high on the 1 meter board. Bella Bear, also a personal record score, 181.45 on the 1 meter. Peter Beyer, continuing the trend, personal record score, 212.45 on the 1 meter. So officially Coughlin-Doyle first, Barrett second, Beyer first for the men.
Fanaiti wraps up the women's 500 free with a win. That takes us to event 24, the men's 500 free. Looking at the field, in lane 1 for Wheaton, Alex Minichelio. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Cooper Sever. Lane 3 for Wheaton, Sean Hill. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Riley Williams. Lane 5 for Wheaton, William Garneau. Lane 6, Roger Williams, James McLaren. Lane 7, Wheaton, William Chappell. And in lane 8, rounding out the pack of the men's 500, Andrew McGovern. These are all swimmers that have seen action tonight. As we're somewhat approaching the end here of tonight's meet, this will be the last extra long event you'll see. about through the first 50 of the men's 500. It's like first place belongs to Riley Williams for the Hawks in lane 4. Not far behind Williams for Wheaton. And lane 5, it's William Garneau. And in third place, just barely ahead of Hill, who's in lane 3 for Wheaton, it's James McLaren of lane 6 for the Hawks. Williams still going strong in lane 4. Garneau right there with him in lane 5, and then Roger Williams has third place as well with McLaren in lane 6. Williams with a 2-length lead in lane 4. Moving into second place by about a hand length through Roger Williams, lane 6, McLaren. Garneau leading the way for the Lions at the moment in lane 5, third place overall. Garneau had the top time for Wheaton last week. In the meet against Bentley, had a time of 5:03.09 to lead the way for Wheaton in the men's 500 free. Right now, he's in third overall. It's still Williams for the Hawks with the lead in lane 4. Garneau's going to try to chase down McLaren in lane 6 and attempt to get second place. It would be really, really tough to go try to catch Williams, who's just slowly expanding his lead in lane 4 for the Hawks. Three and a half into the men's 500. Roger Williams currently holding first and second, with Williams in lane 4, McLaren lane 6. Garneau leading the way for Wheaton, third place. Overall in the race, he's in lane 5. Over 4 minutes in now. It's still Williams in lane 4, big lead. Last lap as the buzzer sounds. Still in second place, McLaren, lane 6, Garneau right behind him. Coming down the stretch here in the men's 500. In the lead and going to take the win for Roger Williams. In lane 4, Riley Williams. So Williams will take the win out in lane 4. Roger Williams will go 1 and 2. With James McLaren coming in second place in lane 6. Wheaton grabs a spot in the top 3, William Garneau. Third place, lane 5. Winning time of 4:56.63 for Williams. Garno behind last week's time of 5:03.09. He swam at 5:07.61 today. And in second place, McLaren in lane 6 for the Hawks, 5:04.92. So Roger Williams is going to expand their overall points lead over the Lions with a good showing in the men's 500. That takes us to event 25, the women's 50 fly. Looking at the field, Laura Molesworth in lane 1 for the Lions. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Avery Benigni. Lane 3 for Wheaton, Lily Watson. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Noelle Schneider. Lane 5, Wheaton, Katie Walls. Lane 6 for Roger Williams, Gabriella Carr. Lane 7 for the Lions, Amelia Butler. And in lane 8 for Roger Williams, Katarina Lacio. Look for Walls once again in this race. There's not a lot of races where Walls swims in that she doesn't win. She had a time in the 50 fly last week at Bentley, 27.76. We'll see if Walls can come away with another win and eclipse that time. Coming on to the first 25. Neck and neck in lane 4 between Schneider and Walls. They go through the first 25. They're still right there with each other. Rest of the pack not far behind. Walls lengthening her lead. She'll get to the wall first. Katie Walls stays dominant with another win, 26.66, and she will eclipse her time by less than a second from last week. Second place, lane 4 for the Hawks, Noelle Schneider. And in third place, lane 7 for Wheaton, Amelia Butler. Another big race there for the Wheaton women. They go first and third. Hawks take second with Schneider. Takes us now to the men's 50 fly. Look at the field. Colton Lebrecht, lane 1 for Wheaton. Ryan Durea, Roger Williams, lane 2. Lanes 3 and 5, both Lions. Braxton Farron, Gavin Cullinan. Lane 4 and 6, Roger Williams, Seth Sutton, Raymond Cerro. Lane 7 for Wheaton, it's Wilson. Lane 8, Roger Williams, Holmes. With an early lead through the first 25 in the 50 fly. It's Sutton for Roger Williams, lane 4. Farron's gonna, no, it's actually Cullinan. Sorry, lane 5, gonna try to track him down. Cullinan trying to make up ground, but he's running out of time. And to the wall first in lane 4, taking the win. Seth Sutton for Roger Williams. Cullinan, second place, lane 5. Third place belongs to Braxton Farron in lane 3. Winning time in lane 4 for Seth Sutton, 23.28. And that second place time for Cullinan, 23.70.
Cullen, very similar to last week. 22 points on the night now for Wheaton. Did the same thing last week with 2 first-place finishes and a second-place finish. Really great showing for the first year for Wheaton.
So that wraps up the men's 50-yard fly. We have the women's 3-meter board coming up, and we'll take a brief intermission, so stay with us. It's Jackson Walsh and Alan Wickstrom coming live from the Balfour Natatorium on the Newmax Sports Network. It's Roger Williams and Wheaton, women's and men's swimming and diving.
So it looks like we're going to keep the same order for the diving. Morgan Coughlin's Doyle's first dive. 5.5, 6, 5. That was a 103B forward, 1.5 somersault pike, 1.6 degree of difficulty. This is Bella's first dive of the 3-meter board. 103B forward, 1.5 somersault pike, 1.6. See
what Barrett got on that one. Her first dive on the 3-meter board tonight. Barrett with
5.5, 5, and 4.
It was tough for my angle to see that judge's score on the far right.
Peters' first dive, a 103B. See if I can read my writing. 1.5 somersault pike, 1.6 degree of difficulty.
Big leap off the board there from Beyer. Gets a score. Judge will flash them our way now. 2 5.5s and a 6.5. Pretty good start there for Beyer's first dive off the 3-meter board.
Morgan's second dive, a 201C back, tuck, 1.7.
Coughlin Doyle tucks and enters the pool. Judges scores. Going to be shown momentarily at 6.5, 7, and didn't catch the middle judge's score at all.
We had a judge shy with her score there on that second one.
I would have to put that one on the judge there in the middle.
Bella Barrett's second dive, it's a 201B back dive, pike, 1.8.
Barrett starting, facing away from the pool. She begins springing on the board. Now lifts off and enters. Might have over-rotated a little bit with the feet there. We'll see what the judges think. 5.5, 5, and a 5.
Pretty good scores considering she did over-rotate, as you mentioned, on that dive.
That'll turn it back over to Beyer. Sophomore out of New Orleans.
Peters' second dive, it's a 105C, front 2.5 somersault tuck, 2.2 degree of difficulty. This is going to be a big dive. Follows the same trend as his 1 meter set with a big dive on his second shot.
Looks pretty solid there from Beyer. We'll see if the judges agree. 7, 7.5, and a 7, so really good stuff there from Beyer, soaring up high with the tuck and then rotating on the 3-meter board.
The crowd reaction is usually a good indicator of what the judges are going to do, and the judges followed suit with the crowd. Third dive for Morgan here. It's a 301C reverse dive, tuck, 1.8 degree of difficulty. So it just looks like it's a no dive for Morgan. She just wasn't feeling it when she came off the board. Instead of trying to go into it, just decided to go right into the pool. Here's Bella's third dive. It's a 301C reverse dive, tuck, 1.8 degree of difficulty.
Small splash there from Barrett, usually a good sign. Crowd's reaction is good, and so are the scores, a 6.5 and 2 7.5s.
Right now, Barrett is probably having the best evening of her career in terms of diving. Usually when you set that personal high on the 1 meter, it's a good bet you're going to do the same thing on the 3. This is Peters' third dive. It's a 201B back dive, pike, 1.8 degree of difficulty.
Beyer once again will position away from the pool to start. Heels hovering off the board. Springs up, tucks, enters the pool. Probably a little more flat than he would have wanted to. 5, 5.5, and a 6. So not Byer's worst work. I'm sure with the way he entered the pool in that one, he'll definitely take those scores.
Here's MCD on her fourth dive. It's a 403C inward dive, 1.5 somersault, 1.9. It's a tuck. See how she rebounds from the previous dive.
Looked like really good stuff there from MCD. Good tuck and good entrance. Good crowd reaction. 8s across the board for MCD.
Can't get much better than that. You have a failed dive on the previous dive, and then you come back with 3 8s. That is really good mental toughness on her part. Bella's fourth dive, a 403C inward dive, 1.5 somersault, tuck, 1.9 degree of difficulty.
Going back to Morgan's last dive, I believe that's the first time we saw 8s across the board tonight. So
it is.
Highest score of the night so far coming from MCD off the 3-meter. It's like Barrett didn't get a full extension into the pool. 4.5, 6, and a 5.
Byer's fourth dive, it's a 301B. Reverse dive, pike, degree of difficulty 1.9.
Byer gets a walk up, then elevates. Judges scores 5.5, 6.5, and a 6 for Byer.
For Morgan Coughlin-Doyle, her fifth dive, it's a 51-32D. Forward dive, 1.5 somersault, 1 twist, free dive, 2.1 degree of difficulty. This one's going to be fun to watch.
Comes Coughlin-Doyle looking to follow up her last dive with 8s across the board. Probably came into the water a little heavier than she would have wanted with the back of her feet there, but still really good scores from Coughlin-Doyle. A 6.5 followed by 2 7.5s.
Here's Bella's fifth dive. Bella really having a good night so far. 51-32B forward. 1.5 somersault with a twist. This is a free dive. 2.1. This is easily her most difficult dive of the night.
A little heavy on the splash there from Barrett. 5, 5.5, and a 5.
Byer's fifth dive, it's a 403C inward dive. 1.5 somersault with a tuck, 1.9 degree of difficulty. It's pretty common when you have a diver with maybe not as much experience as other divers, where you'll see the degree of difficulty be higher on the 1 meter than the 3 meter. The 3 meter is usually the board that will come later in a diver's career instead of the 1.
Byer got a walk up to the end of the board last time. This time he'll start at the end of it positioned with his back to the water. Byer just jumps straight off it.
Looked pretty clean.
All 6.5s for Byer, so judges did agree with him. It was pretty clean.
Here's Coughlin-Doyle's final dive. It's a 52-31D. Back dive, 1.5 somersault with a half twist, free, 2.0 degree of difficulty. Good dive for her to finish her set on.
Looks good from Coughlin-Doyle. We'll see what the judges say. 2 6s and a 6.5.
Bella's sixth dive, a 52-11A back dive with a half twist. Free, 2.0 degree of difficulty. Let's see how she does on this one.
Barrett looking to finish off what could be a career night here with their last dive on the 3-meter board. Like a bit of an over-rotation from Barrett. 4.5, 4.5, and a 5, so the judges do agree. Bit of an over-rotation from Barrett, but not to take away from what has been a great night for Barrett.
Yeah, I think she's going to be really pleased when she gets her final score off this board. She's really had a good night. Peter's 6th dive, it's a 52.11A back dive with a half twist, 2.0 degree of difficulty.
A lot of elevation on that one from Beyer. 5.5, 5.5, and a 6 for Beyer. So good scores to wrap up his night, and that'll be all she wrote for diving on the 1-meter and 3-meter boards tonight. Good showing from Morgan Coughlin-Doyle, Bella Barrett, and Peter Beyer. We'll have our last 4 events of the night. Women's and men's 400-yard IM, followed by the women's and men's 200-yard freestyle. We'll take our last quick break of the night. Stay with us here on the Newmax Sports Network for the conclusion of Roger Williams versus Wheaton, women's and men's swim and dive. Music dies down, and that means we're just about ready to get underway for the women's 400 IM. A look at the field in lane 1 for Wheaton, Anna Curry. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Brenna Gilmette. Lane 3, Wheaton, Leah Schulte. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Kate Weiler. Lane 5 for Wheaton, Emily Eads. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Ola Heiler. Lane 7, Wheaton, Allie McHenrick. And lane 8 for Roger Williams, Sandy Remsen. They're into the pool and underway for the women's 400-yard IM. And lane 5 out to a lead through the first 25. That's Emily Eads. Wheaton didn't swim in a 400 IM last weekend at Bentley. Instead, they swam in a 200-yard IM. Lily Watson had the best time at 2:15.24.
It'll be interesting to see how Eads finishes this race. As you just referenced, the 200 from last week, she finished 4th in that race. Obviously, with the longer distance, that is a game changer for a lot of swimmers where they're good in the short distances, but when you double it, it's a divider for a lot of swimmers.
Right now, still in the lead and on the backstroke, lane 5, Emily Eads. Second place belongs to Roger Williams in lane 6, Ola Heiler. Haller in lane 6. She's a freshman. So the freshman Haller looking to challenge the more experienced Eads. Eads still with that lead in lane 5. About 2 minutes in.
And that's really a key that you just mentioned, Jackson, where Eads does have a load of experience. She knows how these races go. It's early in the season, so if she doesn't win the race, it's not the end of the world, but every race for her has a different purpose than maybe a first year or a sophomore, because she knows it's such a long season.
So it's Eads first place at the moment in lane 5. Roger Williams holding second place in Haller. Third place belongs to Wheaton. That's lane 3, Leah Schulte. Not far behind her in fourth in lane 4 for Roger Williams, Kate Weiler. Eads still holding steady in first. Haller not far behind her, and it's neck and neck for third place between lane 3 and Schulte, lane 4 Weiler. Eads still swimming strong. The freshman Haller's going to try to catch her in lane 6. Third place, they're right there with each other between Schulte and Weiler. On to the last 100, they've entered the freestyle. Weiler still trailing, but right now leading the way, it's Eads for Wheaton in lane 5.
Eads really did herself a favor by building such a big lead for these final 3 laps. I don't think Haller has enough to catch her. You look at Eads right now, and she's got a lot left in the tank. I don't know that Haller's going to catch her.
Eads still powering ahead, as you said, Wick, about to come on to the last 25. Haller trailing behind in second. And in third place, Roger Williams still has it in Haller. Oh, sorry, Haller second place. That's Weiler. Third place, lane 4. Lane 3, Schulte still in third. And in lane 5, Emily Eads comes away with the win in the women's 400-yard IM. Second place, as expected, the freshman for Roger Williams, Haller. Third place goes to Roger Williams with Kate Weiler. Fourth place, also Roger Williams in lane 8, Sandy Remsen. The winning time in lane 5 for Eads.
Really
4:45.44.
Really impressive win there for Eads.
Second place time for Haller in lane 6, 4:50.98.
She won that event by more than 5 seconds, and that's just a huge, huge gap in that race.
It's going to bring us on to event 30. Before we get to our last 2 events of the night, now it's the men's 400-yard IM. Lane 1 for Wheaton, Noah Kaplan. Lane 2, Roger Williams, Luke Austin. Lane 3 for Wheaton, Andrew Tran. Lane 4, Roger Williams, Riley Williams. Lane 5, Wheaton, Braxton Farron. Lane 6, Roger Williams, Cooper Sever. Lane 7 for the Lions, Caden Gilbert. And in lane 8 for Roger Williams, Lars Zerp.
So this is Tran's race. This is a race for us to watch Tran in. Last week, Cullinan won this race against Bentley, and Tran was right there for the Lions. Obviously, Cullinan's already swum. I'm sorry. Tran won this race last weekend for the Lions, and Cullinan finished second. Obviously, Cullinan's already swam in 3 individual events tonight, so he can't swim in this event. So we're really looking at Andrew Tran for the Lions here.
Also trying to stay in the mix for Wheaton in lane 5, it's Ferrin. Good chance it comes down to Tran in lane 3 and Williams in lane 4 for the Hawks. Williams has been great all night for Roger Williams. He's in lane 4 and going to try to end his night with a win in the men's 400 IM. He's in the lead right now with Tran behind him in second place. Lane 3 also in the mix for Roger Williams in lane 2, Luke Austin. And right behind all of them, not far behind I should say, just a length back of the lead in lane 5 for Wheaton, it's Braxton Ferrin.
Tran just looks a lot stronger in the backstroke than Williams here. He's going to make up some room and take the lead now.
So it's all neck and neck, lanes 2 through 4. Roger Williams, lanes 2 and 4, Austin and Williams. And lane 3, the first year for Wheaton, Andrew Tran. Tran, one of the local guys out of the freshman class for Wheaton. He's from Milton, Mass.
And now Williams has started to turn it on the backstroke. I really thought Tran was going to carry that race, or carry this leg of the race.
Williams still powering through for the Roger Williams Hawks. Tran behind him, barely holding on to second place in lane 3. And third place at the moment in lane 2, it's Luke Austin for Roger Williams. And falling back a little bit, trailing them in lane 5 for the Lions, Braxton Ferrin. Approaching 3 minutes into this one. Williams really out in front now for the Hawks in lane 4. It would take an impressive and sizable comeback for the rookie Tran in lane 3. Tran falls back to third place now. Austin moves into second for the Hawks, lane 2. We're on to the last 100 for the men's 400 IM. The freestyle portion, Riley Williams, dominant. His teammates still holding second place, Luke Austin in lane 2. Andrew Tran in lane 3 is going to try to catch him to take second. Seems like second's the best Tran could do at this point. Williams just too far out in front. Williams will touch the wall in front of us now. He's on to his last 25 in what should be an easy and dominant victory in the men's 400 IM. Stretching out his lead in second in lane 2, it's Luke Austin. Right behind him, Tran. Lane 3 in third place, Tran's teammate, the fellow Lion in lane 5, Braxton Ferrin. And wrapping it up with a win in lane 4 for the Hawks, Riley Williams. Time 4:15.43. Second place, holding off Tran, Luke Austin, lane 2, 4:25.77. Tran finishes in third with a time of 4:29.33.
Luke Austin with a really great showing for the Hawks there. He was far behind in third place as Tran and Williams were duking it out for first place, and then obviously Williams just pulls away. But Austin coming back and supplanting Tran there for second place. Really nice stuff from him.
So the Wheaton women take the win in the 400 IM with ease. The Roger Williams men respond. They take the win and take first and second. Riley Williams leading the way for the win in the 400 IM. Now that'll take us to our last event for both women and men tonight. Along with the 50 freestyle, probably the most exciting event on both sides. That's going to be the women's 200-yard freestyle to start. Wheaton in lane 1, 3, 5, and 7. Roger Williams lanes 2, 4, 6. Also to throw in Wheaton, also in lane 8. So 4 Wheaton teams in the women's 200-yard free relay. Roger Williams with 3. And they're off. The last women's event of the night, I should say, the 200-yard freestyle relay.
This is always one of the most exciting events of the meet, to cap it with this sprint 200-yard freestyle relay.
Lane 5 for Wheaton with the lead. Starting it off was Lily Watson. She turns it over to Reese Hartman. It's going to be her first time not swimming in the backstroke tonight. We'll see what Hartman can do in the freestyle. Right behind her for Roger Williams in lane 4, Avery Benigi started it off for the Hawks. Now it's Tabitha DiDonata. Third place for Wheaton, lane 3. Bridget Cleveland started it. Now it's Garrett Stone. Garen Stone, I should say. On to the third leg now. Lane 4 for Wheaton. Lane 5 for Wheaton, sorry, with the lead, Amelia Butler. Roger Williams falling back to third in lane 4 now. Wheaton's lane 3. Currently Emma Lambert-Shimo in the lead. For Roger Williams, lane 4, third place, Brenna Gometti. And they're on to the anchor now, the last 50 for Wheaton. Lane 5 with the lead. They'll be anchored by Hope Campbell, the experienced veteran. Second place for Wheaton. Relay team in lane 3. Finite, the freshman, going to anchor for the Lions. And in lane 4, third place for Roger Williams, anchored by Gabriella Carr. And a dominant win, start to finish, for Wheaton in the women's 200-yard freestyle. The lane 5 team, anchored by Hope Campbell, takes the win. Second place goes to Wheaton as well. Lane 3 team anchored by the freshman superstar Elle Finite. Third place, Roger Williams. Lane 4 anchored by Gabriella Carr. Roger Williams snags fourth place with their lane 6 team anchored by Miranda Castro.
Pretty much what we expected here, with Wheaton just, as you said, dominating from start to finish. We'll see how the men do in this last relay event. We have not seen results in a little while here, but I would be curious to see what that score is on the men's side right now.
The last time the Wheaton men swam in the 200-yard freestyle relay in Balfour Natatorium,
there was pandemonium.
It's mayhem in Balfour Natatorium.
That's
is a phrase. I was just going to get to that. It was a day that there was mayhem in Balfour Natatorium. They completed a huge comeback win that was anchored by the now graduated Daniel Rock in lane 5 for Wheaton. That's a phrase you'll hear both women's and men's swimmers throw around from time to time. Actually used today by Wheaton sophomore Reese Hartman in a post urging everybody to come out and watch the women and men here in Balfour Natatorium. And everybody did come out and watch them, a packed house, as we come on to event 32, the men's 200-yard freestyle relay. Wheaton in lanes 1, 3, 5, and 7. Roger Williams in 2, 4, 6, and 8. Lanes to look out for: Roger Williams in lane 4. Blake Anderson will start it off. Wheaton in lane 5 will be led by Anton Lopez. They're going to empty the tank here. Lopez neck and neck with Anderson. Roger Williams in lane 4 will turn it over to Ryan Durea. Wheaton in lane 5 to Will Larson. Roger Williams with an early advantage in the first leg. Will Larson's going to try to make up some ground on Durea. These guys are absolutely flying in the last event of the night. And there he is, Larson, the freshman, making up a little ground. Roger Williams still just barely in front under the third leg. For Wheaton in lane 5, Sean Hill. For Roger Williams, lane 4, Seth Sutton. Swimmers from both sides really getting into it, cheering on their team. Roger Williams barely holding on to that lead with Sutton. They'll turn it over to the anchors for Roger Williams in lane 4. Brody Ibrahim for Wheaton in lane 5. Brian Hickson. Hickson gets the lead back. Last 25. Ibraham's going to try to have to catch him. Hickson picking up speed. Ibrahim losing it. There he goes. Brian Hickson. He'll run away with it. Here comes the crowd as Wheaton gonna cap off their first home meet with a win in the men's 200-yard freestyle relay. Roger Williams in second place, lane 4. Third place is gonna go to Wheaton in lane 3. That was anchored by Will Garno.
I'll tell you what, the excitement from Hickson finishing his first 200 freestyle relay here at Balfour Natatorium. He wins the race, and he is just slapping the water in his lane in joy and exuberance. He is really fired up, and so is the men's team.
Not sure how the final score is going to come out between the men's side with Roger Williams and Wheaton, but the excitement certainly was there at the end of the night. Lane 5, the Wheaton squad of Anton Lopez, Will Larson, Sean Hill, and Brian Hickson, the anchor. Freshman swimming in his first home meet, come away with a win in the men's 200-yard freestyle relay. That wraps up all the swimming action for tonight, but don't go anywhere. My partner, Alan Wickstrom, just went to go retrieve some scores, so we'll have final scores coming up on air here momentarily. It's going to be close between the men's side with Roger Williams and Wheaton. If I had to pick a side, I'd say Roger Williams is going to edge Wheaton, but it's safe to say that the Wheaton women will come away with another dominant victory, and they'll move to 2-0 and 1-0 at home here in Balfour Natatorium. So I'll step off air momentarily before signing off. Don't go anywhere if you want to hear the final scores. Scores getting announced now. Men's side close overall meet, but a win for Roger Williams, 145 to 136 over Wheaton. So a 9-point victory. Not sure if you can hear it over the PA, but a lopsided victory for the Wheaton women, 202 to 81. They come away with the win over Roger Williams. So good showing for the men, but they just get edged by 9 over the Hawks. And Wheaton with a 202 to 81 victory to continue their dominance and open up the season 2-0 as they head to Wellesley tomorrow.
144-136. That is a huge improvement for the men last year. Let's see if I can pull this up. Just bear with me, folks.
You're looking for last year's meet score?
Yeah.
Last year was Roger Williams 199, Wheaton 81.
Right. So you're talking about last year, Wheaton lost this meet by 118 points. Tonight they lose by 8. That is just a huge improvement for the men. Please stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see if we can get some guests here for the post-meet interview. And we'll be right back in a few minutes.
post-meet here from Balfour Natatorium. I'm joined by William Garno for the Wheaton College men's swimming team. Will, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great meet.
Yeah, you guys, we were just talking about it before. This was a team that last year lost by 118 points to Roger Williams. This year lost tonight, but I'd say moral victory, losing by 9. Talk to me about that for a minute.
Yeah, we came into this ready to go, and we came in hurting too. We had the hardest week of practice we've had all season, and it was awesome to see how our guys, especially our first years, really pulled through. Just the level of perseverance, determination to help make this as close as it could was insane to see.
Sure. How was the atmosphere tonight? You guys had over a month of preseason practice, finally getting here for a meet. Big crowd. How did that play an effect for you guys?
It's awesome to see. Our team takes pride in the fact that our atmosphere is always one of the top things about us. It's one of the reasons people come here. But to be at our home pool and have parents, friends, classmates in the stands, it really it elevates how we swim and it elevates how everyone swims. It's an awesome thing to see.
How can you guys build off a moral victory like this going forward?
All I'll say is right now, I think in my 4 years here, morale is as high as it's ever been. We're looking forward to just killing this season in any way we can, especially on the men's side. We've had some, with COVID and everything, we've had some tough years, and we're looking to really build on this. The future is brighter than it's ever been for us right now.
It definitely is, and really excited to see how the rest of the season goes. That was Wheaton College men's swimmer William Garno after his meet against Roger Williams. Will, thanks for joining us today.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Back live meet post-game from Balfour Natatorium. Joined now by Wheaton sophomore Katie Walls. Katie, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
Big night for you guys tonight. Before I get to that, what was the expectation for you guys going into this year? You lost arguably one of the top swimmers here ever, Lydia DeCorday, coming off nationals last year too for you and other swimmers. So what was the overall mentality coming into this year?
We're trying to keep the energy up, and I think we're doing a good job. It's been hard losing Lydia because she's been emotionally, mentally, physically one of the strongest, best, most capable swimmers ever on our team.
Yeah, to say the least.
But it's been good. We've been working hard.
So after a month of preseason practice for you guys, big crowd tonight. What was the atmosphere like coming on for your first home meet?
It was loud. It was loud, and that's how it should be. A lot of parents come in to support their kids. That was awesome. A lot of students got us all riled up. It was great. Great energy.
You guys will be back at it tomorrow at Wellesley. Same mentality going in, same focus, even though you're swimming back-to-back days.
Yep. We'll have the men supporting us because we'll just be women swimming. So.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for joining me, Katie, and good luck going forward. For Wheaton College and the Newmax Sports Network, alongside Alan Wickstrom, I'm Jackson Walsh. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and for more information, visit WheatonCollegeLions.com.